Evening and welcome to the Coffeyville City Commission meeting for Tuesday, August 22nd for 2017. Tonight's invocation will be led by Margie Miller of Community Crossroads of Christ. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
Dear Lord, we pray that your Holy Spirit will be apparent with us this evening, and may each of us feel that as it impresses us with our decorum and the way we conduct ourselves. We ask that you bless each one of these commissioners, our city manager and his staff, and all of these people who have made it important tonight for them to be here. We ask this blessing in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tonight's consent agenda, City Commission meeting minutes for Tuesday, August 8, 2017. 2017 appropriation ordinance number AO-17-16 in the amount of $4,544,529.89, and ordinance number G-17-04, second reading of an ordinance to approve the 2017 Uniform Public Offense Code. Do we have any questions or amendments to these agenda items?
No, I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor and seconded by Mayor Bauer to approve the consent agenda as presented. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Additional item on the consent agenda is a 2017 appropriation ordinance number AO-17-16A in the amount of $255.68.
Move to approve the ordinance.
Second.
Who seconded?
I did.
Motion was made by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Mayor Bauer to approve appropriation ordinance number AO-17-16A for adoption. Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
I can vote on that one, can I?
No.
No, I didn't see my name on it. Okay. I abstain.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye. No public hearings, no old business. Moving on to new business, resolution number R-17-64, a resolution to purchase property insurance for the electric utility. Finance Director Stephanie Richardson will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, this item is for our property insurance on our electric utility system and for the boiler and machinery insurance coverage for the two power plants. We bid this coverage every 3 years. We're in the second year of the 3-year term, so it will be bid out again next year in 2018. At the time that we did bid this, Coffeyville Insurance and Chubb & Sons were selected as our agent and carrier. And so they have given us our renewal quote for this year. The premium quoted is $464,702. It's a 3% increase over last year, much of that due to property limit increase that we had of about $19 million associated with some ancillary equipment at the new generation plant. They did this year give us 2 proposals. The city is recommending to the commission acceptance of the first proposal, which keeps the coverage similar to what we currently have. The second proposal is has some differences in the flood and earthquake coverage, and I am going to introduce Adam Gill is here from Coffeyville Insurance. If you have any questions regarding the difference in the proposals or those coverage amounts, he's here to go through that with the commission.
Okay.
Thank you, Stephanie. Commissioners, how are we doing this evening?
Fine.
Good.
Adam.
Good, thanks.
I would be happy to explain the differences in the coverage. Chubb has put forward 2 options this year. One is The exact same as you have had it before. The property limits are what are listed, and the aggregate is $34 million. It is the total of those limits. The secondary option, and the way it will be next year, they just didn't get it out soon enough, so they couldn't do it this year, is there will be a $10 million per location limit. And it is given to you guys at the exact same price as what you're currently paying. The only negative that I can see is that they have a $20 million aggregate, which that is the most they're willing to pay in 1 year, whereas now you have a $34 million aggregate.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, this is solely flood and earthquake that we're talking about here. And we had a pretty good flood here in 2007. So we know basically what will be damaged in the event of another flood. And I believe that both these coverage would be just fine for you.
So what
That's what I was
was
gonna
that?
ask.
What was that? What would be affected by that flood? The public might want to know.
The same structures that were damaged in the
Right.
2007.
And what was that, Adam?
I don't have the locations with me. I can get that to you guys.
How much was that? Do we know? Do you know?
No, not right off the top of
Okay.
my head. I don't think you guys did make flood. The only claims that are listed on your 5-year loss history was in 2013, there was a boiler explosion, and I believe it was like $1.5 million paid out on that. And then in 2016, there was a smaller claim, a steam rupture, and there was paid out like $164,000.
Okay.
And that was subject to your deductible.
So they're making, so the insurance company, Chubb, is that the name of it?
Chubb, that's right.
What's
And
that stand for?
that is the name of the company.
Okay.
It doesn't, it's not an acronym.
So their return on investment's pretty good.
They are the industry standard as I know it for power plants.
No, I'm talking about, is this coverage just for, this for all the insurance, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, for the property insurance.
right,
Yes.
okay. Not the work comp and some of that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So their loss ratio, or they're, just out of curiosity, that, they're making money.
Yes, it's a for-profit business. If they
I
were
know,
not
I
making
understand
money,
that.
they would not.
There's a name, Adam, for what they look at the loss ratio, you mentioned that a minute ago, the 5-year loss ratio. How much have we paid and how much have they got paid out? I mean, all companies look at that, and I didn't have time to look into it, but I think the public would want to know that. Would be a point of interest.
Sure.
And so now we're paying how much, and how much have we paid out in 5 years, and how much have they paid out? That's what I'm asking for.
Maybe an easier question, have we had any claims?
In 2013 and
Yeah,
2016.
He just told us what those were.
And last year, your premium was around $390,000, I believe. And this year, it's $460 due to the annualized premium of the new power plant and the $19 million in ancillary costs. So, and they have paid out in the last 5 years $1,665,055.
So if you took an average about 5 years, it's about $200 or about $400,000 a year on an average is what we paid out, which would be $2 million.
So
And
their
we paid
profitability
back-
is pretty
And they
good.
paid us back 1.6 million or 1.7.
Right, that's
So they
what's
profited about
interesting to me.
300,000.
No, that you are a profitable piece of business for them. And they love the city of Coffeyville. They wish that you guys would do more business with them.
I just wondered about that. That's
Sure.
enough. Thanks, Adam.
And Mr. Taylor, if you guys ever have any more questions, if you'll let me know what they are, I will present a much more thought out.
So I understand that next year we have to do something different.
Yeah, it will be the 10 million per location aggregate, which is more than enough to cover any of the locations that are currently listed.
Is that gonna be an issue next year? I'm looking to staff here. Are we gonna wanna look for another company?
Well,
Or is-
we'll put it out for bid again next year.
Are we gonna be good with the 10 million? that he's talking about, the limit? Or is that an issue?
It's more than you currently have.
Other than the lower aggregate of 20 million instead
Right,
of 34
right.
million.
I read a little something about that, but I'm, it's a lot,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
No problem.
I have a
Believe-
question.
Okay.
Sure.
Commissioner
A
Williams.
couple questions. In times past, when we renewed this policy, we had discussions on, and including like terrorism,
Yes.
and if we had terrorism coverage, it was X price, but if we didn't have it, it was lower. Does this policy, which one is
The
this?
price reflected that Stephanie presented was without terrorism,
Okay,
because
that's what I wanted.
you guys historically have not taken that.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure that we weren't going that route again. And obviously, kind of a new phenomenon here, but, well, never mind, I see it, the earthquake.
I don't need exact amount. How much more is insurance if you include terrorism?
Oh, goodness.
$19,089 to
It's-
include the terrorism.
Per year?
Yes.
Significant.
It's significant.
Okay, yeah, I see the earthquake portion,
Needed
so I don't
damage or
need any
effect.
questions answered on that.
Kind of agree with you.
Thank you.
So, Adam,
Yes, sir.
our power plants, the new one, it's a, pretty expensive deal there.
Yes, sir.
So how much, is there a limit on that?
I can pull the schedule for you. Hold on one second.
I mean, this insurance deal gets into days of study, okay? And I know the city staff's done. Who looks over that with the city?
Stephanie's in charge of that.
So,
I work with Adam on that. The statement of values is provided by the electric department, so they're confident that it covers
Okay,
what they need
okay.
at the locations.
And
So-
I showed it as like 56,500,000.
if some mentally unstable person decides to drive a semi through one of our buildings, it's not covered?
It would have to be a foreign act of terrorism to be covered under terrorism.
So it could be just a regular Kansas idiot doing it and we're covered.
You're not covered.
We're not covered.
But, yeah, this.
So the terrorism wouldn't even matter.
Terrorism.
Now the
would-
conversation's coming back to me. Okay,
Okay.
I remember now.
It would have to be a foreign act of terrorism. Homegrown terrorism is not something that would be covered under
All
that.
right.
Any other questions?
Well, one more time, I hate to keep dragging this out, but, what percentage of the cities this size would take the terrorism? Do you know?
I would not.
What
I know that I represent, 7 different municipalities, cities, and a lot of them in this area do not take it. I would say probably 85%.
Okay. I think that's everything, Adam. Thank
Okay.
you. Okay, any
Other
more?
questions?
No, I'd make a motion to approve R-17-64 for approval.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution number R-17-64 for adoption. Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Adam.
Okay, next item on the agenda is discussion on lease agreement with the Coffeyville Area Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, the current lease that we have with the Chamber of Commerce is the 1972 version. That's the most current one that we have on file, and it no longer reflects how we currently operate with the Chamber of Commerce. And so what we brought for you tonight is a draft of an updated lease that better reflects the current operations with the chamber. I provided you at your desk there kind of a color-coded version of that highlights really the significant areas that we'd want to focus on as we're looking through this. If you start there at the top at 1.1, the first blue shaded area, it just defines what parts of the building we're talking about, because it is actually the Perkins Building and the Condon Bank, reflected at two different addresses at 807 South Walnut, 811 South Walnut, and because we are choosing to divide that space up a little bit, that's why we've addressed it this way, because it does affect the upstairs portions of the building as well, as there are offices above the bank. And you'll see in 1.3, the next blue shaded area, that the city will, as we're writing it now, the city would remain, they would keep control of that office and storage space above the bank. So should we choose to, office someone else in there or lease it out, that we could still do so. Currently, it's used for some storage, I believe, but nothing else. 1.4, and as you can see in my notes in the red, this allows for usage of the bank and the upstairs meeting room. The city reserves the rights to still be able to use that if we can coordinate it with their staff. So they do have a meeting facility above the chamber offices that we could utilize if need be. The first 1.6, the green highlighted areas are reflects how we currently operate with the chamber. And if you were to read through there, those are, we do provide them currently with electric, water, internet utilities, as well as the utilization of the city's email server at no charge. And also, in addition, and it's a little bit of my discretion, we do some limited IT support for them, and a little bit of maintenance, and then building maintenance, as it has been, the city has been taking care of that maintenance pretty much at any level. Now, they, over the last couple of years since I've been here, have steadily made improvements to the bank, new flooring, and they're currently in the process of putting new flooring upstairs right now. So additional blinds and some other, painting, wallpaper in the bank that they received a grant to do. So they are making investments in the property and keeping it up. The only real change to that is here just recently we've started more cost sharing that, and this lease reflects that any maintenance up to $1,000 would be on them to make those repairs. And this is kind of standard language that we use in some of our other leases on city properties. That's where that dollar figure came from. It's a little bit of a cut and paste type of scenario, and that excludes the HVAC system. The city will still maintain that system and with our personnel, and also currently we've started kind of following this policy that if something needs repaired, if they'll provide the parts or whatever, city staff, as it's available, has been making some of those repairs and doing some of those maintenance. But they've understood that city staff isn't always available to get there immediately, and that they've looked at other avenues to have those repairs completed. You'll see the next shaded area, 1.11, the green, talks about insurance. That is currently how we operate. Also, then 1.12 is about liability insurance that they'll be required to carry. The final shaded area is 2.1 commencement date. As it stands right now, the wording that we put in says that this lease for 3 years and would commence as of January 1st, 2018. So that still leaves us a 4-month gap between now and then, should we choose to approve this here in the next couple meetings or something. So we might want to think about just making it effective upon the, the signature date or something like that. And we can talk about the term. I put 3 years. I wouldn't be opposed to more than that, honestly. We have a very good relationship with the chamber, and it's a benefit to the city to have someone staffing that building. The majority of the week they get a flood of tourists through that area to be able to show the bank, and if you spend much time in the chamber, a lot of people are there for information, and that's kind of the go-to place. So it's a good partnership that we have with them, and like I said, this just updates everything, reflects how we're currently operating. So I'd open it up to questions or suggestions, anything else you'd like to see different.
I have a question for Paul Kreitz. Have you reviewed this contract, Paul?
Yes.
Have you seen this document here?
What document is that?
It is use of buildings, application, waiver of liability, and agreement, Coffeyville Area Chamber of Commerce.
Yes,
Have you seen that?
I have.
Okay. My question to this is damage to the building. Any damage to the building that is perpetrated by someone using the building, it's damaged to the extent, probably not anything majorly, but if it was damaged to a large extent, the way that this reads is that payment would go to the Chamber of Commerce and not the city when we're the owner of the building. Is that the way that should read, or that should read that it goes to the city?
I need to review that document again. It's been a while.
Okay. I'm just questioning that,
Sure.
because the thing is that I always think in the worst case scenario, that way we're covered in the worst case scenario. If someone were to come in and substantially damage the building, and then they pay the chamber, obviously they would turn it over to the city. However, then you get into a squabble of, was it repaired right, was it not?
Well, and
Things. If that was given directly to the city could oversee the repairs and whatnot.
And in this lease in 1.9, it does reflect that kind of language that the city maintains the right and authority to pursue damages from that party for repairs. And
I'd like to have Paul review this though, just because he hasn't.
Well, is this document, this is provided from the chamber, handed out to people. Is that even needed if we have this?
and that's the
I
question.
think that release document is more for the chamber, just sort of if you're gonna use our facility, you're gonna be responsible for damages. I think it's a good document to have. It may need to be
And a lot of the
Tweaked.
A lot of the furniture, for lack of a better word, that's in the bank is property of the chamber. Some of the, it's not just the desks and chairs that are in their office. Some of the
Right.
stuff that's in the bank, I believe, is property of the chamber, and that maybe is designed to protect them, at least that portion of
Well,
it.
this document here is requiring people to have insurance. Your organization must have insurance to use the Perkins Bank room and facilities. If we control the right to use the bank room, why is the leaser of the building telling a subleasee? See, that's what I'm worried about. There's no language in here to cover something like this.
Okay. Now, when you said that again, that we control
is-
the bank.
Well,
here,
it says in here that, allows for usage of the bank and upstairs meeting room. This here says, organization must have insurance to use the Perkins Bank room and facilities.
Yeah.
So it's two different documents. Do we have a policy for somebody that wants to use the Perkins Bank building other than the chamber?
We do not, special events would, I mean, we do cover some of that with the special event insurance.
So if they fill out a special events permit that asks for all the things you need, your plot of what your event's gonna have, insurance and all that, I go back to, why would you need this if it's already covered by the city?
I guess my only thought would be that not everything is in a special event. And that's the best answer that I would have for you, I guess. Now, Candy Westbrook is here. If you'd like to maybe have some questions, she might better be able to answer what precipitated that document.
Okay. Is this a new document then?
Yeah, within last couple months.
Yes, and Kendall mentioned it earlier. The intent is if somebody were to use that front bank, somebody knocks over an historical piece that we've purchased for that bank, we're just wanting to make sure they're responsible for replacing that. It's not necessarily meant for a big damage, a tornado or something like that. It's meant somebody come in because we put a lot of money into that bank. So even though it may be a city event or another event, we need to make sure somebody is responsible for the usage of it.
And I want to clarify something. You said it wasn't intended for a big damage event such as what'd you say, a tornado?
A tornado or somebody driving into it or something like that.
Okay,
I mean,
well-
we've got coverage for that.
Okay, and I want to clarify myself. I wasn't referring to a tornado or something like that, but if you lease this property to a organization or have them have an event inside that building, and they have some type of event and they catch the building on fire, that's what this document's gonna come back to, and it's gonna come back to this document and whether or not it was or was not written properly. And the thing is, and I'm asking you, was this written by your guys' attorney?
No, it was written by me. I did have Paul review it, and I had a couple other people that have similar policies like that, and had them review it as well to make sure we had the proper verbiage.
So it would be prudent for us, before we agree on this lease agreement and approving this document, that we would make sure that it was reviewed by our attorney, wouldn't you say?
We want to make sure the documents are compatible.
Exactly.
Yep.
I agree. So you want to table it? What are you asking for?
Well,
I don't think
it's
we're making a
tonight-
decision this
I'm just simply
Tonight is
asking
just a
for-
draft.
I
If you see
do-
changes that need to be made.
I do believe Commissioner Martin has some additional questions he would like to have addressed.
Yeah, there's a misconception in the community, and I for one had the same misconception until a few years back, about the time I took commission. The Chamber of Commerce is not a branch of the city of Coffeyville, correct?
That's correct.
In no way. We are a member of the chamber.
That's correct.
And we pay $1,200 a year?
Platinum membership, yes.
Okay. How much do you estimate the rent, the electric, the water, the internet, and possible IT to be worth?
Well, just a rent of an office facility, probably $300 to $500. I think that's probably a fair estimate.
Do we have an estimate of the electric, water, and the internet? We could wait till the next meeting to get that.
I could get you the exact numbers, on
Yeah, I'd like to have
what
that.
that is in a monthly basis.
Well, we've got insurance in case something happens.
Yes.
This just is trying to put, have an agreement to put it on them, right? I mean, for them to accept responsibility for what they do. 9 out of 10 of those people have insurance, and then usually they get this, and then they send it to the insurance company, and they say fine, and everybody's kind of.
And I think that it would probably just take a couple small tweaks to that document
Right.
to make these two compatible, and we can easily do that, but, okay, Commissioner Martin?
Yeah, I think
you-
just
You would like
clarification.
a total, maybe a yearly total expenditures on utilities and
That's fine.
internet?
Utilities, internet, rent?
The services we provide.
Yeah, the services we provide.
Right. Yeah, because I'm along the lines with Justin. There's a misconception that the city doesn't provide any services or provide any services to the chamber. I think that's just been lost in time, through time. So, the city is a big supporter of the chamber.
Absolutely.
And
I understand.
people should just be made aware that just because we don't live down there doesn't mean we don't support it in monetary funds.
I understand what the chamber's trying to do here, covering themselves. I get that, I do. But what I'm hearing is it's confusing to people that go to Cindy and they get a special use permit. Next thing you know, they get this, fill this out too. It's just my opinion, nobody else alone. I haven't talked to anybody about this. I would think it would be better to have something very similar to this, but be a city document that whoever uses it understands that they gotta fix the chamber stuff if they break it. You know, that they understand that the chamber is a tenant inside that building and they need to be covered. I feel like we're, too many things going on here. It's kinda like the stadium, you know, you used to go here, but now it's, you go to you.
Yeah.
Streamline our policy here.
Yeah.
It's confusing to some people that you do this, but wait a minute, now we're doing this. So, it's my opinion. I think this could be covered under a special use permit, very explicit language that, hey, the chamber lives in there.
They may use the building for other things though besides just special events. If they rent the meeting room to somebody, that's not a special event.
Who rents it? Because in here it says we have control of the meeting room.
We have the ability to use it if we want something. I mean, if
Okay.
we want to hold a meeting there, if we wanted to hold city commission, we could, you know. But they're
So-
it's still theirs to
Yeah.
utilize.
So if somebody wants to use that meeting room.
They would go
They
through,
go
they
through the
they would go
chamber.
through them. Even we would go through them. We would make certain that they didn't have something scheduled that would
Okay.
conflict. But
We haven't had
we
this-
reserve the right to use it for free.
Right.
We haven't had this agreement in place before, have we? This is.
The lease or
Right,
the other agreement?
Yeah, the indemnification agreement.
No. That's-
So
that was
it's a
new.
good thing that we have. It's a good
Right,
thing
it was
someone-
just one of those things that nothing caused us to create it, it just
Right.
smart practice I've had in other
It's a-
businesses,
It's a
so,
cover yourself type
Right.
of deal.
Right.
And the thing is, and I know it's probably, seems like it's petty on this, the wording of this stuff, but I tell you, I sit up there at that courthouse day and day and day after day after day, and you'd be surprised at people come in with contracts and things like that that are not specifically worded correctly, and it creates all kinds of disasters for folks, and they come out disappointed because they had this stuff that was written down, but it wasn't written down right, or it wasn't written down specifically, and it's just like, don't take this wrong, but I'm not a real huge fan of attorneys, but the thing is they go to a lot of school to learn how to read this stuff. So, my thought is they provide an excellent service, and we pay the guy to do it, so I think that we ought to utilize him to not you, Paul, I like you a lot. But you know, the thing is that, and I'm not trying to throw more, you know, bricks in the fire or sticks in the spokes or whatever. I just want to make sure that you're covered, we're covered,
Absolutely.
and everybody's covered in the, you know, horrible event that something would happen to that building. Because in reality, you know, if something happens to that building, we can go down there and throw a bunch of sticks and bricks together, but it ain't the same building. It's never going to be the same. So we got to make sure that we got it done right.
yeah.
So.
I did want to also speak just briefly to what you were mentioning, just about the perception, because that is a perception out there that there's not, that the city doesn't support or the chamber doesn't support the city or vice versa. We're very, very appreciative of everything the city has done to help us, very much so. In fact, just in the few months I've been there, I think we've had a really good collaborative relationship with the city. They help us tremendously, and then we try to give back as much as we can to support the community. And so we definitely want to keep that relationship because I think it's very important that we both help each other. Years ago, we did actually receive a cash check, or whatever you want to call it, from the city. That's no longer. We used to give presentations because of that. Even though we don't have a cash donation, you are supporting us in other ways. And so I would like to come back and start presenting on an annual basis if you
That
would
would
agree
be
to that.
nice, Lynn.
I think it would be important for the
Yeah,
community
I
to
think
know
that'd
what
be
the chamber
great.
does on a regular basis and what we're doing for the community. So I'm happy to come back anytime this year. Just let me know when we can do that. And then I also wanted to hand you this. This is just a quick snippet, and then like I
Thank
said, I
you.
can come back and present in more detail of some of the things that we've just done in the last few years to support the community and the city of Coffeyville. So I'll let you, read that whenever you want, but just to give you an idea of just some of the things that we've done and that we try to do to help Coffeyville and to help our community out.
Good.
So.
Other questions? Thank you.
Okay, so,
Thank you, Candy.
as far as the content that's in this, we have a consensus that we're agreeable to this, but we do need to make certain that that document and this document are compatible.
Yep, I think so.
I know the chamber does not meet again until the second Thursday, is that correct, in September? But I think our meeting is that Tuesday before that, so we'll be able to make sure finalize and then could have it signed for them, ready to sign for them on that Thursday, if it's amenable to everybody.
Yep, sounds good. Next topic is discussion on City of Coffeyville employee residency requirements. Kendall is going to discuss this, lead the discussion.
Yeah. Well, at the last meeting, Commissioner Williams asked that this be added to the agenda, a discussion item. Currently, the residency requirements for city employees is the Unified School District 445 boundaries. And that has been in effect since 2004. And I guess I would just open it up to Commissioner Williams as to, I think, well, I'll just open it to Commissioner Williams because I don't want to speak for him.
Here, the reason I put this on, or had this put on the agenda and wanted to discuss it, is that it is, from my knowledge, we're having a difficult time finding adequate hiring pool in the living boundaries to hire police officers.
We do have, yes, I guess probably the simple answer is yes.
Okay. What incentives have we provided to try to entice people to apply for police jobs in Coffeyville?
We've started implementing a hiring bonus.
What's the hiring bonus?
It's a, and maybe a mayor, okay, 1,000 if you're, if you need to attend the training academy, and $2,000 it's sign-on bonus if you're already a certified officer.
Okay. How, 3,000? 2,000? Okay. Has that incentive,
Incentivized.
has that incentive helped
We did
recruit adequate police coverage?
We did hire an officer from out of state who took advantage of that, but unfortunately realized that this wasn't where he wanted to be and left. I don't know that it has helped tremendously. We have had a better applicant pool, but in the end, it gets weeded down by our testing and our backgrounds and examinations and things like that.
How much money have we paid out in overtime in the last 2 years because of inadequate staffing?
I wouldn't have that number.
Can you give me a roundabout ballpark estimate?
Well, I bet if you would give us a few minutes, I bet Stephanie could probably come up with that number. I hate to put her on the spot, but, and,
Okay,
Right.
let's just start with
Yeah.
that, because a lot of it's probably gonna be to cover shifts, because we have a minimum staffing.
we do have a minimum staffing requirement,
Okay, and what's the minimum staffing?
3.
3. And, has there been a time that you had to pull investigators off of investigations to cover, patrol officers' jobs?
Yes, we've pulled investigators, we've pulled, at the time when we had the SRO, we've done that as well.
So you pulled the school resource officer out of the school to cover shifts, and you've pulled investigators off investigations to cover shifts.
Correct.
What other methods have you utilized to try to cover these shifts? And what I'm getting at is just simply, they don't have any people to hire, right?
Yeah, we struggle to hire police officers.
In your opinion, would it be beneficial to get a larger hiring pool?
Well, it's always, yeah, I think, yeah,
Yes?
yes.
Okay. Would increasing the living boundaries for that department help to get a larger hiring pool?
I honestly don't know. I can't be certain that it will. I just, it may get a larger number, but I don't know that it gets a more qualified pool. You know, as it stands now, you know, if we get 10 people to come take the test, 4 to 5 pass, and then when we move into the next round of, you know, background testing and those things, you lose another 1 or 2 between that and the psychiatric evaluation. You know, so that you're down to hopefully one applicant. But could it help? Absolutely. There's a potential that it could.
Okay.
Well, can I talk about that?
Absolutely.
Well, we're talking about, you know, this residency requirements, we all kind of understand what we're talking about, correct? And what are the pros and cons about it? Is that what this discussion's for, so we can openly talk about it?
Well, I would think so, yes.
I mean, Ken, I don't believe we've talked about it, maybe we have, I don't know.
Not really.
Okay, well, now that the topic's on the table here, you know, we're having a hard time hiring people. You know one thing where I work, I'd hate to cut it off at the state line. I'd be in big trouble, okay? Our company would be. We've talked about just going to Montgomery County or making it bigger. Right now, I don't have a problem with it unless I know something otherwise. So I need to hear the other side of the argument. And I know with municipalities and cities, it might be a little different than private business. So I'd like to know what you're thinking about it, or any other city staff that deals with the employees thinks about it, because I haven't heard anything negative about doing that. I know there's got to be a reason negative, but I don't know what it is. So I'm ready to hear it.
The one thing, and I don't know whether you called it a negative, but it is an issue that we will have to address, is that currently all of our contracts require a 30-minute response time in emergency response. There are obviously portions, you know, of, if you just limit it to Montgomery County, the entirety of Montgomery County, that you could not respond in that time. And then you have to put a time value on what's an emergency and what is an acceptable time to respond from whatever, you know, if you're on the other side of Caney, which is possible, you know, what is acceptable to respond. And we do track those responses to make, you know, to ensure that they're following the contract, because this is it is part of the MOAs that we have with all the negotiation. The, there are some
So,
cons that I would say in regards to perception that don't apply in private business. That because this is a publicly funded enterprise and the employees are funded, you know, by public funds, there is some perception, especially
Right.
especially the positions that have take-home vehicles. It is probably more publicly accepted that a city of Coffeyville vehicle is parked in a driveway in the country than on the city street of Independence. That's probably more publicly accepted.
so on
So,
that,
I mean-
on that issue, we could have a certain response time, and we might increase that or we might not, but
Well, I
30
don't
minutes
think
sounds pretty good to me.
I don't think there's any question that if you opened it up to the entirety of Montgomery County, which I think was the first idea, you would have to address the response time, because
Right.
you could not
Right.
live in parts of Montgomery County and respond.
Couldn't we say Montgomery County with a 30 minutes response time?
I think we can say however we want.
just
and we
within
can-
a radius
And
of
we
the
can
30
address
minutes
the
response
response time with the unions. And we're gonna have to have to tweak that. So is that really a con? No, but it is something that needs to be addressed. You know,
Well, and there's a way, I mean, there's ways around that particular
Right.
thing. I mean, you can sign contracts with individuals as you hire them that you know that they live in Elk City. Is Elk City part of Montgomery County?
Yes.
You know, that we expect you to be here in 35 minutes. You know, things like that.
Can I ask a question?
General rules, 30
I would
minutes,
think
but-
you could. I don't know about that. I don't know why you couldn't.
Right.
The union might have a different opinion, but go
Right.
ahead.
Can I ask a question? You said one of the perceptions is that if you're a taxpayer-funded entity, that you should basically live where you work or live where you pay taxes, whatever. Is CRMC, Coffeyville Regional Medical Center, are they a taxpayer-supported entity?
Say that again, a taxpayer.
Is CRMC
Do
a
they receive-
taxpayer-supported entity?
Yes.
You have cent sales tax.
They get sales tax.
Okay,
Right.
do they have a living requirement?
To my knowledge, no.
Is Coffeyville Community College a taxpayer-funded entity?
Yes, more so than CRMC.
Do they have a living requirement?
No, I don't believe that they do.
Is USD 445 a taxpayer-funded entity?
Yes, they are.
Do they have a living requirement?
No, they do not.
You didn't know all that stuff?
Yeah. But I will tell you, it will be different for the city.
Right.
And
Well,
and they overlook the schools and they overlook the
Right.
college.
And look
but-
about the professional,
But, and
Ken,
I
I-
don't know whether that's
perception.
right or wrong, but it is something you need to be
Right.
mindful of.
Right.
Well, here-
Well, I think the safety of our citizens and the fact that we need police will override it. This is a special
Absolutely.
circumstance. We've
And-
tried it without it. We notify, or we do our PR work or whatever. No, I mean, everybody knows it.
Okay, and something we need to discuss, if we do this, if you choose to do this, and it doesn't affect it at all,
Then we'll reconsider.
so you would look to withdraw it back to what it was?
The thing is here's my focus. My focus is not trying to hire a bunch of people from all over the country. My focus is to put people that are qualified in patrol cars, so our kids can go to school and not have to worry about getting shot.
Okay,
That's my focus, okay? And when we have 4, 5, 6 positions on a police department that are not filled, and we're having shootings over by the high school, I got a problem with that. So the thing is we need to put people in cars and put people out on the street. So if I have to hire somebody to come to Coffeyville and put them in a patrol car, and they're willing to come, but they're not willing to move, then I'm gonna do what I have to do to make sure we're safe. That's where I'm at.
How long have we been struggling with this? I know a couple of years or more.
More, probably.
So that-
Currently, we're 3 positions down. The 4th is funded for 2018. So we have 3 vacancies, a 4th one will.
That we can't fill the first 3, so what makes us think we're gonna fill the 4th?
And 3 people is, in reality, a shift.
Yes.
A shift full of people.
Right.
Oh, please go ahead, Matt.
So, to follow suit with Chris, he asked about overtime for 2 years.
Yeah, and I have those answers for you if you want that.
Sure, if you have it.
Total overtime was $166,868.62. Of that, and this is 2016, $62,436.45, without, and that did not include benefits, was attributed to shift coverage.
So, you said 160,000 and 60,000?
166,000 for total and 62,000 and change without benefits.
That's
was-
2016?
Was 2016, yes.
What's the total payroll? What percentage of the payroll is overtime?
Total payroll's 2 million probably, I think, right in that number.
8%. So well, the question is, to get to it, if you hired 3 more
5%.
people, how much would that save you in overtime? And what, we really, how much light shed on the fact that we really need to hire 3 more people? Besides the safety issue, and we need them, how much is this overtime safety factor gonna help us? That's the question.
Savings, overtime
Yeah.
savings? Well,
With hiring the 3 more people, how does that weigh out? Stephanie knows what I'm talking about. Have you done a study on that? Has anybody in the police department or?
I don't know that we would have a clear answer. That's so many other factors that come
Well,
into
it's a
what.
guess, it's
what overtime-
somewhat of a
what-
guess.
But, just being fully staffed is going to reduce stress on our officers.
Right.
Right.
Allow us.
Fatigue.
Fatigue is a huge one. Allow them to take some of the vacation that they've earned, and.
Spend time with their kids.
Their families and things like that.
Well, okay, I think this is a big deal. I think it's time we do something. I think we ought to publicize it somehow, so if there's any entities or anybody that wants to talk, or write us a letter, or get their facts on the table, a public or union, or just the public comment time about the issue. You said, Kendall, and I agree, there's gonna be people that want to debate it, after the fact. I'd rather do it before the fact. And we've been talking about this for a little bit, and I'm ready to vote that we do something, so we can,
I am too.
and I think there should be a public comment time, I guess.
I think Commissioner Cassidy has
Okay,
something
go
he'd like
ahead.
to say.
I understand. I mean, they are worn out. They have 3. They have 3 people on shift, and I listen to the scanner quite often. Somebody get a chance to listen to the scanner, and some of it is little trivial calls, and they don't get a chance to do drug enforcement. They don't get a chance to do just patrol around because they're so inundated with stuff like animal control and smaller issues that they don't have. I'm saying is they can't prevent crime. My problem with Montgomery County is places like Fair and places like that. What I like to do is kind of find a way to enclose we have 3 big cities in this town, Independence and Caney, and find a way to enclose those.
Never mind.
Well, we'll address the
Okay,
time issue.
Can you restate that? So, Caney, Independence, Cherryville, is that?
It's Cherryville.
Cherryville, Montgomery County.
Yeah.
Right?
What does he mean, limit?
And I
Open up
guess
the
I'm just trying to.
Open up the square farther. Not the whole county, but just open
Okay.
the square up a little farther
Okay.
in the divisions. But
The thing about Montgomery County, that's a defined line, and
That's
and
kinda my opinion.
you know what you got there.
Right.
It's easier
You
to.
either are or you
Montgomery
aren't.
County, go for it.
Exactly. Now, the other question is, we're talking this is the entirety of city employees, correct?
Right, well,
I mean-
I had talked to one of the guys one time about that, or somebody about that today, I don't remember who it was. Yeah, that came up, and that is,
Well, I don't think you could do it really I know, I
Right.
know
It's all or
the,
nothing
the
deal.
discussion has centered around the police and the
Right.
ability to hire them. But for just pretty much every other position except maybe, journeyman lineman, we get a flood of applicants every time. So it doesn't, as far as the hiring goes, doesn't affect that pool and those other positions.
Right.
But to only single
you
out the
limit it.
police would be,
well, when we set it up for public comment, you're gonna hear back. But
Yeah, 'cause
other
it's-
cities that do that go out farther, would it be, I
No.
guess, back up. Legally, we kinda have to do it for everybody, wouldn't we, Paul, on that?
I mean, you can make distinctions between
Oh, you
classes.
Okay,
You may have some perception issues, though.
What employees are you talking about? Are you talking about
All city employees.
even city managers, even?
The thing is what you do is you just make it simple. May not like it, but here it is that the living boundaries are X, Y, Z with the exception of all department heads and the city manager. The ones that are already living outside are grandfathered in until someone new comes and takes their place.
well, we could set it up for public comment,
Yeah, we'll table it for tonight, but I think we drop to it. I mean, do you want
So-
to table it tonight, or you want? I mean-
well,
I don't
it's
wanna
not,
vote on it
it's not
tonight.
really on there for action.
Right.
No, but
Right.
the thing is, so let's put it on next meeting to, do something about it. And if someone wants to speak about it,
I think we should have it for public comment, thought for,
well, that's what I mean, the next meeting, everyone
Right.
can come down and we can,
Yep.
have a discussion on it.
and there ought
Sounds
to be
fair.
some media stuff on it, I don't know how we do that.
Well, I think-
We need to somehow
The thing
publicize
is,
it.
the agendas are published to the media, and the media get the agendas, and they post the agendas, and people can come down and make their views known.
Right. We done?
I'm done.
I'm done. Well, let's talk about it just one more minute.
We're
So,
not done.
Well, at some point in time, we need to talk about the other city staff, the other unions, the other labor force, because we haven't really done that. We've kind of focused on the police. Is there anything to talk about that now while we're talking about it? Any negatives or issues? Are we having a hard time finding help in those categories?
The only two areas that we struggle, and I think I've identified them, the police department and journeyman linemen. The police, that's a nationwide problem. That's not a Coffeyville problem. That's across the board.
I see.
But there are other cities who are expanding their residency requirements and to try to counteract some of that.
Are they doing it just like a police department? I mean,
I can't speak to the details on some of these, but, I do know that there are some cities that have even crossed the border. Liberal and Pittsburgh are two that I know of that have, they're right on a border, and they're allowing employees from other states.
The thing is someone mentioned earlier about it would be, well, it was you, the perception that it would be unacceptable to have the city of Coffeyville car parked in, say, Caney. The thing is that it's pretty simple on that deal. We do the same thing. If you live, out of the city limits, you don't drive home a company vehicle.
that'd be a resolution for that one,
And
wouldn't it?
the thing is that, a person that lives, in, say, Caney, and they have a city vehicle and they have to respond to something, they can come up here and park it at the city hall, right at their company vehicle right over there, and they can respond in their personal vehicle to city hall and pick up their vehicle and go to the whatever it is. And I'm not talking like police cars, but that's basically what you're doing in a police car situation anyway, is your officer is living,
You know,
in Canyon, he's driving here to get a police car.
Marilyn,
It's the
you're
same
here,
thing.
aren't you? Marilyn? Oh, there you are, I'm sorry. Have you got anything to add to this while the topic's on the table?
No, not really.
Okay.
Here, unless you're very.
Okay,
It is difficult to recruit police officers.
okay.
Every agency I talk to, it is a struggle for them.
From an
I
HR,
don't know what the right answer is.
from an HR, I mean, this thing just, we really need some time on this one. Public input, I think. It's, we've had it a long time, we've had the problem a long time, we cannot do anything. I think we've got a month if we need it, or plenty of time. So, if anything comes up from an HR point, I'd like to hear about it, or through our city manager, of course. But, I think it's time we do something. I just don't, it opens up this big can of worms, and we need to take some time to digest it. So we'll move on.
I just got one
Okay,
last thing to
okay,
say.
sure.
You got two options in this particular situation. Neither one of them are really a wonderful option. But the first option is that you either open your hiring pool by opening the living room requirements, bringing in a bigger hiring pool of folks to choose from. Or the second option, in my view, which is even worse, if you're gonna hire policemen, you're gonna have to lower your standards.
Yeah. And we,
And the thing is if you lower your standards, you better be prepared for what you get.
well, and that's absolutely not the route we're gonna choose to
Right.
take.
But those are the two options. I'd prefer not to lower our standards.
Yep. Okay. Moving on.
One more thing.
You sure?
Yeah.
Discussion on City of Coffeyville social media policy.
So wait a minute, we're really not done. What are we gonna do to publicize it, or to put something in the paper for public comment? It's kind of this is what I'm asking for. How do we get public comment?
Well, I think you're asking for it right now. I mean,
Right,
this is
and
a-
how do we do that, media-wise, legally-wise, so to speak, fairly-wise, professionally-wise? How do we do that?
I guess we could put out some kind of press release or a media release,
Yeah.
say that,
Yeah.
that the
Well-
commission is requesting, in determining whether or not they're going to expand the
Right.
residency
And the
requirements,
journal-
and they would appreciate feedback from the community.
And I don't know how this works with the Journal. They're our official publication, right? The
Yeah.
Journal?
Well, here's my official publication.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna trust her to craft something to send out as a media release.
Okay. Like to the Journal and everything?
To
Okay.
all media
Okay.
outlets that
Okay.
say that,
Right.
you're
And I said
you're
the
seeking
Journal,
some
Dirt
input.
Road Review and all of them.
Yeah.
I don't leave one out. Yes, okay. Good. I just want to make sure it gets up for public comment.
Okay.
Because I want to hear from them.
Feedback.
If they want to show up and talk about it, we're here. That's what I want to do. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, discussion on City of Coffeyville social media policy.
Okay, Mayor and Commissioners, it's kind of my understanding that there's been some concerns about the content of our social media, and specifically, we're talking about the city's Facebook page and what content we put on it. Currently, our approach is that we use Facebook and our website as a tool to disseminate information and disseminate accurate information, and with the goal of being transparent about what's happening in the city of Coffeyville. Every press release that goes out, like we just mentioned, comes from our public information officer, who is Cindy Price. And all of that is disseminated from her office to the media outlets. And then, like I said, obviously Facebook is a powerful tool, so the things that occur, the newsworthy events that are occurring, along with all other aspects of things and information-wise, we have been posting on our city Facebook page. But you know, I guess I need some clarification as to the commission's prerogative as to what we should or should not be posting on there. Are there, you know, are there specific things that you would prefer was not coming across our city's Facebook page?
Well, I haven't had any problems. I mean, I know one or two has had a problem, and there's been an issue. I'm really not aware of the problems that much. If we need to talk about them, fine, but I knew there was this.
Well, we want some clarification. I mean, we want to make certain that we're following what, you know, the commission's wishes on this. But like I said, as we're operating now, I mean, you can see the things that we post out there.
Do we have a written policy on it?
We do.
I'll say
Okay. Well, I knew we did, but, I mean, what's wrong with that? I don't know of anything wrong with it myself.
I was one of them, clearly, that had some issues. It's kind of a long-winded deal. I try to make it short. Talked about perception a while ago. It's a Facebook world, and people use Google, search Coffeyville, and Facebook posts come up. What I'm worried about is the Facebook posts on the city's page. There's places for these things I'm going to talk about, in my opinion. I don't think we need to be having shots fired or manhunt or homicide, things like that. Pictures of the eclipse, the improvements to buildings, positive things. We're our own best PR people. This gentleman here mentioned Hot Topics a minute ago. There's a type of person out there, I think they're called troll. That's what we're going to call them. That's what I'm going to call them. But all they do is they try to find something, a crack. And somebody mentioned water leak the other day. First thing they said, 3 or 4 comments. Does that mean our electric bill is going to be like our water bill? It's going to be $500 this month? Just don't give them anything to, just don't help them out.
We were seeking the public's assistance in locating that water, and that's the best way to get.
And there's a way you could do that. You could have said, if anybody's experiencing low water pressure, the City of Coffeyville is aware that there's an issue, please contact the office and let us know where you're having.
We actually were having low water pressures because we had been flushing at that same time.
2 million gallons, suddenly, there's all over people, 2 million gallons, where's that coming out of? Am I going to have to pay for that? That's the kind of things I hear. And that's my point. Don't give them anything. We understand there's a water leak. We're taking steps to address it. If you're having low pressure, get a hold of us. We'll gladly fix it. Shots fired, manhunt. Here's the hood. They call it the hood all the time. They call it gangland. That's why I'm glad I left Coffeyville.
The thing is, though, is what you're telling us is that we should hide the facts.
No, not hide the facts.
The facts are, is that.
There's newspapers for that.
You want to hide the facts from the public. The thing is if you want to not have shots fired on your Facebook, if you want to have not being homicidal maniacs running around whatever, then address the problem. The problem is we have a crime problem. Address that. Then that doesn't go on Facebook. That's what you need to address.
It doesn't have to go on Facebook now.
It's not trying to put lipstick on a pig.
Well,
it's
here's
address the
our
problem.
Nice way to spin it, Chris.
Here's our conundrum, and I understand what you're saying.
We have a PD page for that kind of stuff. We have at least 3 or 4 different news media outlets in this county alone that can report that stuff. I think this is me, nobody else's opinion but mine, we should be presenting the City of Coffeyville in the most positive light we possibly can, because we have plenty of help in the other direction every day.
You know, there is a difference, in my opinion, between putting shots fired and we need assistance in finding this person because they're the prime suspect in that shooting. But the fact remains, that's still a negative thing. I mean, just because you're looking for that guy, you know that there was shots fired. And so where do you draw the line?
And I keep going back to this, but the thing is that I absolutely agree with what you said. A lot of times the public is the best help that you can get in finding a situation or looking for someone. And the thing is a lot of times when you ask for the public's help, it's not a positive thing that you're needing the public's help for. For instance, a child abduction. If you have, that's not positive. I don't want people,
I think comparing a child abduction to
going-
gangland
Can
shootings,
I finish?
stretch. Go ahead.
Okay.
Feel free.
Those things are things that we have to get out there. It's not positive, but we need the public's help. And social media is the best way that we can get that message out there. And the thing is, my perception is that we need not hide anything. It is what it is. We need to be very, very open and very, very transparent. If that's putting the facts out there, then that's what it is, and I have no problem with this policy whatsoever.
We'd like to think we use common sense when we're trying to do this. Is there some of those things that we maybe could be put out on the police page?
Right.
And yeah, I think the answer is probably yes. We could do some of those things. Like I said, I just want to have a good understanding of what the commission's desire is. We want to reflect what you guys want us to reflect.
Ken, I don't have any problem. I haven't studied it like, that. I haven't really seen that big of a problem. I do agree with Chris on some of this. I want to, I don't know how to answer Justin on his concerns. I think you got to be forward, and sometimes you got to just tell the truth, and it hurts, but the good out comes better from it. And the only suggestion I have is, and I don't need to tell you this, we're taking up good time here, that we're, checking other people's policies. You belong to these associations.
And a lot of these came.
Right.
We got a lot of other city input.
And we're working on that, because all that's being fine-tuned as we go on. So I don't have any suggestions for you.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll proceed with common sense. I mean, if you have specific things as they come up, visit with me. Then we can maybe have
Maybe fine-tune it a little bit.
Fine-tune it a little bit, have a better understanding.
Yep.
Okay.
Because I understand what Chris is saying, but I also understand what Justin's saying.
Absolutely, yeah.
I get
Sure,
both
very
sides of it,
valid
because I've
point.
gone on the fence on both of them. I agree, we don't need to hide anything. But in the same sense, maybe some things we can
Tone down,
word just a
yeah.
little differently. Just the wording on it. And it's not even that we're not letting the information out, it's just how we word it. So,
You're gonna split the baby.
there you go.
Okay.
Here's the deal with me, is we're trying to recruit businesses to come in. We're trying to recruit citizens to come in, future employees to come in, and I'm not saying hide it, but I think we need to put our best foot forward, and if the Coffeyville Police Department says we have a BOLO, be on the lookout for somebody out, then we could certainly share that and have it be on their page, but I think there's a way to do it, simply put, and I don't, if a business wants to move in here, the first place they're gonna check is Facebook
Social media.
and all that. And I think we need to put our best foot forward and show them how positive Coffeyville can be. And we may have some pitfalls that don't need to be on there, like the trellises falling from the new improvement or something like that, but
Services. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Any other comments on social media policy?
No.
Number 7, discussion on trash dumpsters in downtown parking lot.
Okay, and this is kind of a follow-up to the last time we met, and I've provided you at your place a kind of a diagram, for lack of a better word. We when we left the last meeting, we had myself, I directed staff to organize the dumpsters in a logical fashion, and also with being mindful of protecting the parking lots from the weight of the trash trucks, and so our solution was to bring all the trash cans together right along the alleyway that runs behind the businesses there on 9th Street. And I visited with the businesses that it would affect, and we had at least one that had some concerns about unintended consequences of where we had chose to place them, and that it could, bring flies and just unsightly, and it, so they had some valid concerns. But like I said, we were trying to balance two things. The overall look of the parking lots with protecting them, and the only way to truly protect the asphalt is to bring the weight of those trucks up onto a concrete surface, which is why we chose the alley. Since that time, we've had maybe some discussions. I've had discussions a little bit that and I guess what I'm bringing you right here is a plan that if you see this is the very south edge of the 10th Street parking lot. And it's an aerial view of it. It's basically right behind the Cox building, but on the city parking lot.
So the top is north?
The bottom, yeah, if you're looking at it, the bottom is, the top is south,
The top
yes.
is south?
Yes,
Okay.
so.
Okay, I got you.
So, and our solution is that if we were to group all the trash containers, and the smaller diagrams are grease traps from the restaurants, put them all in that location. The green that you see on yours represents screening. We would build a fence, a screened fence, to hide those from the sides and the things, the traffic that could see from 11th Street. And then we would bring the trash trucks in one direction. They would be moving west to east across that parking lot. They'd be able to empty them and then just go on out on the east side, onto Patterson. It limits that the trucks from going back and forth through the entirety of the parking lot. It cleans it up, it screens it. If you can see just to the right of this enclosure, there is another enclosure that is utilized for the restaurant and the hotel. We tried to group them all close to that. If we have a consensus that we can agree to this is probably the path that we're going to pursue. Again, I'll need to visit with business owners and let them know that, in some cases you got a little longer hike to move your trash and or your grease. But in the overall aesthetics and benefit to the city, this is the best solution that we can come up with.
I like that idea.
I like that idea. I think it gets them all in one location. They're not strung all over. Like you said, aesthetically, it's pleasing as a dumpster can be.
Right. Now I will put out the caveat. There are a couple other parking lots, city-owned parking lots, that have some dumpsters, and they may not be as easy as a solution. And this wasn't an easy solution, but that is something that if you want to address, we're going to need to look how to best do that as well.
We should mirror all of them to be the same.
Yeah.
You set the standard for one, you set the standard for all.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
We can start looking at those other instances. Now, obviously, there's not as many,
Yeah.
Dumpsters, 6 or 7.
I don't know if I agree with that. It's all about money.
Right.
This has got some special issues on this parking lot. The only other thing I'll say is that is the radius for semis to turn north right here for the parade. And you're gonna, I don't know, I'd have to go down and look at it, see if you can still get a semi around this issue right here. But
When you're saying this issue right here, what are you referring to?
Here's the dumpsters. The semis come right through there to make this turn right here
Okay.
for the parade.
Well, they would not take up any more room than a car does if a car was parked in that same stall.
Yeah, I know, and those cars have to be moved to get a semi around there.
Okay.
Or you have to go over that curb, but that's probably not worth talking about, but it is an issue. Okay?
Okay.
Because we've, made sure that there's no cars there, and when there was, then we had to go over the curb. And when you got people on the trailer, it's a,
Can you go in from
I
that?
don't know, I've never tried it. They bring the parade route this way.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we can get past that if that's the only place to put it. I'm looking at it, looks like the only spot. You see semis in here on this parking lot, but if you wanna go north on that through those curves, then that's a problem. But anyway, we'll figure that one out.
Any other questions regarding the downtown parking lots with the dumpsters? Okay, we'll move on to the city manager's report.
Mayor, Commissioners, I'd like to start off by just saying thanks and congratulations to the Fair Board. They pulled off another excellent fair and rodeo. It was a tremendous event. The weather cooperated with us very well. The rain held off. Between the new event with the monster trucks and bringing back the concert, I heard a lot of great comments about it. So just a big thank you to them. I know it's got to be a tremendous amount of work.
Was the concert good? I wasn't there that night.
Yes, it was.
Good.
It was very
That's
good. Really was.
Good.
I want to let you know that we're going to start requesting RFPs for the sale of the property on West 8th Street, 1401 West 8th. It's actually 4 lots there. That's customer service and the adjoining lots. We will be crafting an RFP to send out for the sale of that building, as we will no longer be needing it after the first of the year. So I'll be visiting with Paul. He doesn't know that yet, but I'll be visiting with Paul to get that crafted, and we'll be putting that out. Essentially taking bids. I mean, for lack of just in layman's terms, we're taking bids on that property for sale.
Do we need to disclose anything on that property?
Yeah, obviously it needs a roof and stuff, but we'll make full disclosures and anything. It'll be as is.
It used to be a gas station. It
Bank.
sank at one time.
But,
I think that should be disclosed.
No, this is the bank. This is the bank.
Customer service, 8th and Buckeye.
8th and Buckeye. On the.
Yeah, that it didn't used to be a gas station. There wasn't a gas tank there.
There were gas,
Yeah, there were gas tanks there.
Okay. But,
And it sunk at one time and they came in. I mean,
Building,
there's some
yeah.
things we need to disclose, okay?
Yeah.
About the property. What do you think, Paul?
I was trying to think there was some substantial work done in that parking lot. a few
It
years
sunk
ago.
because they came in and took the tanks out,
Yeah.
and they didn't compact it, and then they came in and fixed it, and I think it's gonna sink again, okay? I'm just saying we need to disclose that.
Sure.
Just so we're covered and
Okay.
not catching us up with us later. Because we're not gonna get that much out of it anyway, probably.
So-
Do we want to expose ourselves to that?
Just a quick update on our continued building projects. City Hall was over there late this afternoon. They have begun cutting the hole for the new stairwell between 2nd and 3rd floor, and they've built the wall on the 3rd floor in the courtroom that will enclose that. We kind of delayed that a little bit. They were making some slight modifications to that to better facilitate the courtroom, and meeting with Judge Collins and his staff on how we could best work with them, and whatever we did to alter that courtroom still allowed it to be effective. And so we're moving forward with that. The framers are pretty much completed. I mean, as far as the substantial work of putting up the walls. Plumbers are over there doing some plumbing, and the ductwork in the customer service area is being completed. And right now we're kind of waiting on door frames that are being built to suit, And when those are in, here in the next week or so, then you'll really start seeing the sheetrock teams come in and begin to put up walls. So but it's progressing well. Same thing in emergency services. I was over there today as well, and it's a veritable ant hive or ant hill. People in and out of there, but quite a bit of sheetrocking going on. You can, especially on the police side, their offices, quite a few of them have been completed. We do have an issue with the enclosure around the trash. As it was designed for a front-loading trash truck, because at the time when we were doing that, that's what we had. Since then, we've changed trash haulers. They do not have front-loading trash trucks. So we're having to enlarge that closure. You know, it's a brick enclosure. So there are some costs associated with that quite frankly are not on Crossland. Those are decisions that we're making and looking at on how to best do that. Especially it's in the gates and things like that. You know, when you got 14-foot openings, and gates pretty expensive, but we're going to work through that, and it won't be an issue, but it's just something that we're having to address. Sure. Let you guys know, or let the public know really, that tomorrow in the 1400 block of West 10th, there's going to be activity both with the police and the fire for the entirety of the day. Police department's going to be doing some tactical training, a couple of abandoned houses, and so you'll see the MRAP over there, and you know, they'll be testing the robots and things like that. But the public will be notified in and around that area. But then the fire department is going to be doing some night training. We'll be burning the buildings to do training at night, and that's going to occur. Let's see, the PD is going to be there about 8 to noon, and then the fire department will be in there from about 7 to 10 at night, burning those buildings and doing some training. So don't be alarmed if you get over in that area. Surface ceiling project, Donaldson, we anticipated being here this week. It looks like it's probably actually going to be the first of next week to be here in town and begin street sealing. And of course, they will be going to the houses and notifying them a day ahead and letting them know that they're going to be in that area, remove any vehicles from those streets, and just making contact with the citizens. And that's some of the information that I know that Cindy will be putting out and trying to keep people apprised of where that activity is going to be and when, best we can. Hydrant flushing still continues. That was suspended a little bit because of the water leak we had mentioned earlier. But the fire department is finishing up that, you know, and that's in conjunction with the free chlorine burn that we did through the water plant. But they're hydrant testing, pressure testing. The EPA will be here Monday for about 4 days doing the inspection of our MS4 program, which is our stormwater program, and it's a compliance audit, and so we anticipate that it'll be fairly intense. They'll be spending a lot of time here really digesting all the data and what are we doing to comply with our stormwater program, and so we'll be working with them the entirety of next week and making preparations for that. And I'd also like to let Commission know that the League of Municipalities annual conference is next month. It's going to be September 16th through the 18th, and it'll be in Wichita. That's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. If you have interest in attending, if you would notify Cindy, we can get you rooms reserved. I believe that the agenda was in the last Government Journal magazine, but it's also online on their website. Or if you have interest, let me know, and I will. I'll get you a link to the activities and the classes and the learning opportunities that are available to you during that time. I would encourage you, as many of you, to attend as possible. I think you'll find it beneficial. I know Marcus went was it last year to Topeka?
A couple years ago.
Was it 2 years ago now in Topeka? Took part in some of the classes and stuff. So, also a reminder that we're going to have a work session a week from today over at the conference room at City Hall to discuss the automated meter reading, and that's going to be at 6 o'clock. So next Tuesday, 29th, 6 p.m. And that's all that I have for you right now.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion to take a 5-minute recess. We'll return at 8:05.
Yep.
At this time, we'll open it up to comments from the public. The public is free to comment on items not listed on the agenda. Please address comments to the commission as a body and be mindful of others who may wish to speak by limiting your comments to 3 minutes. Come to the podium, please. Your name and address, please.
My name is Judy Bredesen, and I am born and raised in Coffeyville. And married in Minnesota and was gone for many years, and now when he retired, we came back and we're residing at 211 Gibson. I'm here as president of the Pinch organization. Hopefully you've heard of Pinch, People and Institutions for Communal Harmony. It is a subcommittee of the Coffeyville Ministerial Alliance. And the purpose of Pinch is to bring more racial cooperation within our community. I'm here tonight to invite the commissioners and city officials to attend a workshop that Pinch is presenting September 15th and 16th, a Friday afternoon and a Saturday. The workshop leader is coming from Washington, D.C., Reverend Michelle Letter from the United Methodist Commission on Religion and Race. The topic is moving from concepts to actions for racial justice in our communities and in our churches. Most people I know in Coffeyville are good people. They accept other people, and most would say, I'm not prejudiced, and I'm certainly not racist. How do we experience racism in Coffeyville? Is it a casual comment at my class reunion when somebody said, I wonder how many N-word people will find at the bottom of the gravel pit rock quarry when they drain it? Or is it a white gas clerk that refuses to return a credit card to a customer and then calls her a dumb N-word? Or is it the teacher who doesn't hold black students to the same standards that the white kids are held to because they expect the black students are going to fail anyway? Is it in our churches that we are mainly segregated on a Sunday morning? Is it the uncomfortable feeling that we get when we stand face to face with somebody who is culturally different than us? Admit it or not, we have prejudice and racism in Coffeyville. And some of that is blatant and some of it is pure innocence, but it comes off in an offensive way. That is why Pinch is inviting the commissioners to attend our training in September. The purpose of the workshop is to recognize racism when we see it and to know better how to respond to it, to dismantle the institutional racism that is within every community. It is to prevent another Ferguson or Charlottesville incident from happening in Coffeyville. It's to build a better race relations within our community by better understanding one another's culture. So I'm here to encourage you to attend the workshop on September 15th and 16th. Let's work together for an even better Coffeyville than we have now. And if you decide this is something you can join us in, please let me know. I've given you a brochure. My number's at the bottom. We'd like to know if you plan to attend, because we certainly want to have enough materials, and lunch will be provided, and we want to have enough food. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Judy. Sorry I didn't recognize you guys. Hadn't seen you for a while.
Haven't seen you for a while.
I knew that. I knew you, but I couldn't place it.
Have anyone else that would like to address the commission?
My name is Kenneth Kenny A. Duddle. I live at 411 West 9th, lifelong resident. I am here on behalf of what was the community theater for 60 years. It was a city project, and they were allowed to use the Fuller Hall for 45 years and allowed to go over to the rec center if it was too cold or too hot, which it frequently was in that Floral Hall. We were a part of the town. Since the flood of 2007, nothing has been done to replace or direct us to another stage. We lost everything, costume sets, props, piano, everything.
Okay, Ken, let me interrupt you. You were here about 8 months ago.
Yeah, several months ago.
Okay, were you asking for what you're asked for now?
No.
Okay, I
No.
didn't remember that. Go ahead, Ken.
Okay. I was going to do picnic at my house in the yard. Couldn't get a cast, so now I've got 100 plays in a box at home. I could direct for the rest of my life. I'm 67 now. I have a tentative cast for All Wilderness by the great Eugene O'Neill, who is considered the greatest dramatist of America. It is a comedy, the only comedy he wrote. I have sent many messages to the teachers of the high school and junior high and have got no response. I'm asking perhaps Cindy to be a liaison from me to either the school board and or the principal of those schools and or the arts teachers who you know, Mark Gard, Brian Walwood, Brian Nagel, and give me a week in September, October, or November, one of those months, to do All Wilderness. I will pay $200 out of my own pocket, and all of the payments at the door go to the Salvation Army, so I'm losing money on all of this. I just love to direct and see good plays. Coffeyville has had very few adult plays. We've had school plays galore, and that's wonderful. The college has a program, and that's wonderful. But I want to have an adult and child and teenage and old age theater like we had for 40 or 50 years when I was growing up.
So what do you want, Kenny? Which building?
I don't want money.
Okay,
I want a stage.
Right.
And I want your help in getting a stage from the schools, or well, that seems most likely, for a week, only a week this time. And as I say, I'm not getting any response from the
Right.
people.
Right.
Have
So-
you tried the college?
Yes, I have.
Okay, that's a school, but I didn't know.
Yeah. His name is Ryan Rahmed or something.
Holland, something like that, yeah.
He is my savior. He's going to let me use some of his students in the play. So that's how I'm getting the play.
Well, that sure is a nice stage. I don't know why they wouldn't let you use that. Is there a cost to it or something?
Well,
I don't know how that works with the college.
Well, I don't either. The college, I've done plays at the junior high and the senior high, $100 a night. That's why I'm asking you to present an offer of $200 for the week of the play. So we can move our furniture in, or set up the lights, do the play for 3 times. As I say, all the proceeds go to the Army.
Right.
Have you went before the school board?
No, I have not.
That's where I'd start. I mean,
Fair
there's,
point.
they'd be the ones that would have control over the stage at Roosevelt and Phil Kinley and elementary.
Okay.
We can't give permission to use their property, but that's where I would start.
All right, they meet.
I do not know that, but I'm sure that if you contacted the board office, they could.
Mondays, first Monday or first and.
They
Yeah, I
met.
guess we could
Second
send the
Monday.
school board or him a letter that says, hey, we'd like to see you do this. I mean, just some moral support, I guess.
Yeah, moral support.
I don't know.
and-
I'm just trying to figure out what to do here, because I'd kinda like to see it happen, but
I think Commissioner Martin has the best idea. He needs to address the schools. It's
I'd go
their
to the board
facility to
office
use.
tomorrow and see about getting on the agenda for the
Okay.
school board meeting. They just met a week ago Monday, so you figure 3 weeks. I don't know. I know a gal that's on there, but I don't know exactly when they meet,
Okay,
so,
yeah,
let's
thank
try,
you.
Yeah.
thank
try
you.
that, and I think I'll send them an email that we heard from you. It'd be the school board, USD, 445 or whatever.
That's right.
I'm pretty
We could all
sure,
send him an email, that, hey, we heard from you, and
Support of you.
he's coming at you, and we'll hope to support you.
All right. Thank you, Kenneth.
Thanks, Kenny.
Do we have anyone else that wants to address the commission? Seeing no one else, move on to comments from the commissioners and staff.
Do you want to start with you? I do have one staff that needs to make a presentation.
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Okay. Dennis Jacobs has a presentation to make. And as he's coming up here, I need to make it known that tonight is his last official board meeting, as Dennis will be retiring here in a few days.
How many pictures,
meeting.
how many pictures do you want of this event?
8 by 10 glossy.
I'll watch the video, thank you. Kendall asked me to come forward this evening and visit with you about the remaining tasks to perform as part of the City Hall remodeling. You know, we have been doing the project in phases that started back when we did the demolition and completed that phase. It seems like it's been several years ago now. Followed that up with doing the window replacement, and we're currently in the process of, as Kendall described earlier, of doing the interior renovation. We have a couple of tasks remaining to do to complete that project. One you're aware of, and that is that we made an agreement at the time that we had the bond issue that we would address the renovation of the municipal court on the 3rd floor. The county has done interior remodeling of other areas on that floor as a tenant to do tenant finish, but since we utilize the municipal courtroom for city services, we had left that out of the county's work when they did their remodeling several years ago. But it's appropriate at this point to proceed with doing that interior repair and renovation. It would just be the courtroom, none of the ancillary spaces that go with it, the judges' chambers or any of the district court spaces. As you know, if you've been in that room for good or bad, the vinyl wall covering that was on the exterior wall has delaminated due to moisture infiltration, we thought through the windows or around the window openings. And it caused the vinyl to, number one, delaminate from the sheetrock that was behind it, and caused a minor amount of mold to be present because the moisture had been trapped behind that vinyl, which was impervious. And so what we need to do is to have someone go in and remove that vinyl in its entirety, and then investigate the damage to the sheetrock, do any remediation that will, I think, from my looking at the extent of the work, would be spot remediation, and that can be done with labor and a spray bottle of bleach and some cleaning solution. And then have a drywall contractor who knows how to do those repairs, repair the joints and any gouges or damage that's done in the removal of the vinyl wall covering, because it's a very heavy-duty commercial wall covering, and then to paint those sheetrock walls. The suggestion I would make to you as a commission is that you consider having the contractor that's currently working on the floor right below it to go up and do as much of that work as he can do in-house with his laborers. He's already on the job and could easily pull that vinyl off and dispose of it since he has a dumpster on site currently. And then have his subcontractor, while he's downstairs doing sheetrocking, just go upstairs and do that repair work, and then have his painter, when he has the sheetrocking finished, in the course of the work he's doing downstairs, do the finishing of the walls with paint on the upstairs and make it compatible with the color schemes that we're using down on the second floor. To me, that seems to be the most prudent and probably the most cost-effective. There's no mobilization involved. You have the same contractors involved. It's just an expansion of their scope of work to include this additional square footage space. I think you could probably bid it out, but then you're going to have separate contractors on the same job at the same time, and that could lead to potential conflicts. And you're doubling up with basically the same tradesmen doing jobs side by side. I don't think it will be that expensive unless we run into some real issues with sheetrock, and even then, the sheetrockers, when they come in, they put that stuff up. It's tremendous how many square feet of sheetrock they can put up in a working day. So my suggestion for that phase or that next portion of the work would be to accommodate that. I know Paul's anxious to have wallpaper or something back on the walls besides what looks a little bit ramshackle right now. The second issue that I want to visit with you about has to do with some isolated examples of water infiltration that we continue to have after we replace the the 30-year-old windows with the recent window replacement. I called the consultant who we had worked with before we put the window spec out and had him come to the site and look at the evidence of water that we had. And it was only on the third floor, even though we had replaced windows on all 4 elevations on all 3 floors. And in fact, even on that partial 4th floor, we replaced those windows as well. And he toured the building with me. He brought a window contractor with him to look at it. They did a water test on windows, some various random locations, and found that the water that we were getting, and it was right after one of our spring storms, was coming in basically above and around the masonry openings, not through the windows themselves that had been put in. The contractor that we had already completed the job with had sealed the windows, had cleaned and repainted the lintels, and had done everything as far as his contract was concerned, but in further investigation found that it was not the windows but the walls themselves that we were having these issues with. And I brought with me copies for you to review in the next time that you choose to of his on-site report. So, and he has photos with it so that you have a better understanding of what he found when he looked at the work in detail. Yeah, well, I don't think you saw that. It was an electronic version, but that's for you.
Can't see much.
When this was accomplished a couple of months ago, and I was comfortable with the fact that it was a wall situation and not a window situation. I have an acquaintance who has worked in the masonry restoration business for 30 years, at least that I've known him. And he suggested that we have a specialist who's in the field of masonry restoration come and look at City Hall, the envelope of the masonry of City Hall. We've replaced the roof, we've replaced the windows. We are going to be replacing the exterior doors as a part of our renovation contract. So the only remaining part of the balance of the exterior envelope of the building would be the the stone and the terracotta and the brickwork that is on the face of the buildings. He came over and I walked the perimeter of the building with him. We looked at areas in detail. We looked at and found areas where there are broken bricks that are still in place. We found areas where there are bricks that are missing. We found areas where the terracotta, which is the more ornate molded stone-like appearing exterior materials, looks like masonry, but it's actually a terracotta cast material, it has a lot of areas. They're called water tables. It's areas that break up the elevation of the building. The problem with those, and parapet caps and things like that, is that they have joints that face skyward. They're the tops or corbelling out of different areas, so that the exposure to those is much greater than a surface of vertical brick. And so he said, looking at those, there were some broken terracotta pieces. There were several areas where that mortar had been missing. And there's a sealant that's put in there as well when they tuck point terracotta. And some of that had been, it dries out after so many years, and so it was cracked and leaking. And then there are other areas that I really wasn't paying attention to, I guess, when we have looked at the building before, where over the course of the last 90 years that that building has been in existence, people have drilled holes through the walls of the stone, I mean, to put air conditioning units on the ground when we air condition a building, or to run various utilities through the walls. They just drilled holes through the whole wall. And we have some areas where there are hangers and clips that are left on the walls around windows that I don't have a clue as to what they were for. Maybe awnings back in the 30s or 40s before they had air conditioning to protect those west windows. I'm not really sure, but they look to be that era. The last time we had the building envelope tuck pointed and really reviewed has to be probably 35 to 40 years ago. It was before I was in town, and I'm just not aware. I know we've tuck pointed the Perkins building, and we've tuck pointed the Youth Activity Center, a lot of other city-owned buildings, but have never really, in my tenure anyway, addressed the City Hall building, because it's been so well built. But it needs to be done. So I asked for this connection that I had to tell me about what the extent would be. And basically he said what you should do is to, number one, replace all those missing components, whether it's a piece of terracotta or a brick, replace those. Where they are broken, to cut those bricks out and to put in new bricks that can match as close as possible the appearance of the existing bricks that have broken. To replace all of the jointing that's exposed skyward, that has a sealant in it that needs to be replaced. And then tuck point the stone of the base and fill the holes. And what they do is they take a compound that has some granular stone in it and a matrix of probably a polymer of some sort, and they pack those holes in, and they color that admixture that they put in so that it blends with the stone as well as can be. You'd still see the joint, but it would at least not be a hole in the side of the stone. And then go over the whole building with a new water repellent sealant, which we've done, like I said, on other buildings that the city owns. We just haven't done it to this building. And it would seem that if we're spending $2 million plus for a renovation of the interior, that, and I'm going to say probably $100,000 to $125,000 to cover the approximately 23 or 24,000 square feet of exterior surface that we have on the building would be well worth the money spent. And I checked with Stephanie, and I talked with her a little bit with Kendall about the fact that the funds for doing that are still within the original scope of the bond issue, and because the renovation prices came in as far under our budget that they did, we still have those funds available as a contingency for the renovation project, which we can apply to using for this additional work.
So that would be put out for bid.
I would suggest for that kind of money that you might want to look at several different prices. There aren't too many people that are in the masonry restoration business. There's one in Fort Scott that's been around forever. Well, in fact, there are two. There's one in Wichita that has done work in Coffeyville before. In fact, I think has done work for the city in years past. And I'm sure there are some in the Tulsa area as well.
Yeah, didn't we talk about this issue, Dennis, about 2 years ago?
It may have been mentioned. I don't think we ever intended it to be part of our scope of work for the
Yeah,
bond issue.
I think at one time, and I could be wrong, but it's like, what kind of condition is the brick in? I mean, is it, I thought that was all good, but I don't
Well,
remember.
I think probably 95% or more of it is.
Good, good.
But when we went around and looked through a telephoto lens on a camera, you can start to see where bricks are broken. They're in place. And as a casual observant, you would say, there's nothing wrong. But in fact, there are cracks that are allowing moisture to get in.
Well, aren't you gonna have to have a man lift there for a good inspection for those guys? And to define the scope of work?
They do pretty well from the ground with the equipment that they have to be able to look at it. And they'll include in their proposals a limit to the amount of replacement of bricks. They'll give you maybe 25 or 50 bricks that are missing or broken as part of their bid, and then they'll give you a per brick price to go in and do additional work if they find it. I mean, typically, that's the way it works. I suppose there are variations to that.
Sounds like common sense to me to seal the building.
Well, it's protecting an investment that you've made in the building, and I don't know why that building wouldn't last another 90 years if it's
90?
kept up. And the building
500.
envelope that's exposed to the elements is the most fragile
Boy,
of
it
all.
sounds like if you don't seal it up, you're just wasting everything you've done by your picture. It's gonna be wet again inside.
It will be.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's just a prudent thing to do.
I don't think it
But this is something you have to do. Back up, I see you said 90 and I said 500. Yeah, it's something you gotta do this every once in a while.
Preventive maintenance.
Yeah,
I mean, every
absolutely.
20, 30, 40 years or whatever.
Well, you're lucky if it'll last that long.
Yeah.
The sealants that they're using now are more highly technical and are able to do things that the old sealants couldn't do, so they threw sealant on the wall more often, but these are more refined and more designed to do specific things.
Well, while we're talking about it, I think you need a man lift down there so those contractors can get up there and look at it. I mean, I would think so, but that's beside the point right this second. But anyway, we'll go on.
Two things. I think that you paint a pretty picture of that courtroom, because I think you're gonna find that it's probably much worse than you think it is, because it sure smells bad. It's horrible. Mold-wise, I mean, you can immediately detect it when you walk in. So I mean, I'm not your vast experience, but I can sure tell you that it seems a lot worse.
And I think you might find some trapped in the carpet as well, which is being planned to be replaced.
Yeah.
At the county level.
The other thing is I don't think it makes much sense to spend $2 million on a building if you're gonna let it leak like a sieve. So,
Well,
I mean, that's.
I would say that might be a little bit of an overstatement, because it doesn't really leak like a sieve. It has had some isolated locations where there's been penetration, but by and large, it's intact.
But it won't
But in the
continue to
overall
be, it
scheme,
won't
yeah,
continue to be
it'll
intact
continue to
if we don't do the
deteriorate.
work that needs
Right.
to.
Obviously, it is leaking like something, or it wouldn't be raindrops on the inside of the windows.
Exactly.
So I'm all for it. Unfortunately, I'm glad that it comes in within the money that we've already budgeted. Because of us being, coming in under budget on one, we're able to do this, so I think that we should move forward.
Yep.
Okay.
I agree.
We'll proceed in that direction.
Okay, I have one other question on that topic. Will this delay the timetable of us getting this thing done roughly the same?
shouldn't.
Okay. Thank you.
So are you leaving again, or what's the deal?
Again? I'm not
Again,
sure I understand again.
Well, it's been addressed before.
Really?
Yeah, I asked you how long you were gonna be here during our last meeting, Dennis.
what did I
I said,
say?
are you gonna be here during this thing? And it was addressed. That's what I mean by again, but go ahead.
I will, thank you, at the end of the month.
End of the month, okay?
Any parting wisdom of words? Yeah.
I think
It's-
he just
yes.
showed you his departing wisdom.
My wisdom is that it's been a distinct pleasure for me to be associated with the staff people and the administration within city government for the 17 years that I've been here part-time and full-time. And I think that they do the city proud.
Well, that's good to hear, Dennis. And we don't know if we'll see you again. I don't know if I'll see you again.
You won't see me again.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you for your service, Dennis.
I'd like to say something. We've only known each other probably for 4 years, but it's been an honor to know you, and you've, in my opinion, I think you've done an excellent job, and I appreciate your service to the citizens of Coffeyville.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Comments from the commissioners?
Anybody?
I have some, but
Go for it. Get started.
It came, I've had some citizens come up to me, and I've noticed it as well. I talked to you earlier, Kendall, about this before. There are a couple businesses, I don't want to say names, that aren't keeping up to their end of the bargain of looking good. Some of it's mowing problems and some of it's trash problems. And I addressed it with you, and I hope you have a time to talk to these people in the future. But can you kind of explain, because people are wondering why businesses get more of a leeway.
And I can assure you they don't.
Once again, perception.
Yeah, the perception. We follow the same process. You know, a letter is, if we notice the high grass and weeds, and that's the first thing that you had mentioned, a letter is sent, and they get 10 days to correct that, and if they don't, then it's put on our contractor schedule and we take care of it. And then from that point on, you no longer have to send a letter. If it's observed, we turn that over to our contractor, and they go abate the nuisance, the high grass and weeds. But particular to the two that you referred to earlier today, they have been spoken to. One said that it would be remedied by tomorrow night. So, and it was just their company, and they hire mowing companies to come do that, and for whatever reason, they've gotten behind a little bit. But the letters have already been mailed to those businesses. So we treat them, regardless of which business they are, we treat them the same as Joe's citizen. Same process applies to both, whether a commercial or a residential property. Then in regards to the trash, as I told you, I'd go visit with those, what I thought would be the affected businesses. Now, when I was there, and I can show you pictures of the trash receptacles. They did not didn't see an issue with any of them, but the grassy area, the open lot next to them, did have trash in it. And can I say that it came from there? I can't, but I did. Just a visit with managers weren't there at the time. This was towards right before the meeting. Just stop in and encourage them to make certain that they're being good corporate partners, and taking care of their end of the bargain. But as far as those types of nuisances, we follow that same process, and there is time involved with it.
Okay. That's what I want to know on that subject. I sent some of you guys an email, all you guys, an email about last week, about a few years ago when Justin and Chris was here, I asked, and this was in our parks, in a different state of array, and they told me to wait on it until it's better, and I think it is. I would like to, out by Feaster Park, I would like to put a volleyball net system. I looked at prices there, not that much money. I'm not looking for money from the city from it. I would like to crowdfund this if I can, just because I feel that more appreciation would be taken towards it if it was crowdfunded. But I'm kind of looking to start something out there just right in between where the, there's a grassy part right there where the airplane is and some row of hedges. I'd kind of like to start something if I could.
I'm open to whatever, anything's better than what we got now.
I mean, I think volleyball nets would be a good piece of equipment to have. Do we have any around town? Volleyball nets, sand, anything?
I'm not looking for sand.
And
I
see,
know, but
and it would,
if we're gonna do it, we might as well do it right. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you do it in phases.
Yeah. Well,
Phase one, you get the volleyball net and the post, but
yeah, well, like I said, it's about $600 or so to get a nice system you can raise, lower for men's, women, whatever thing you want. I've looked up prices and stuff, and I just think there's a lot of playground equipment for little kids, but there's not a lot to do for older people, from teens all the way up to adults. So I'd like to just try to at least start that if I could.
I'm confused. You're not asking for public, you're not asking for taxpayer funds. You're gonna raise the money
Yes.
through private donations
Yes.
and whatnot. And you're just simply asking for the city to provide a plot of ground for you to
Yeah.
do this.
Yes.
I don't have any problem with that.
I don't either. I think it's a good idea, actually.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Others?
Two things. You have anything?
Nope.
Two things. Number one thing. I'm not real sure if it's, what exactly it is. I think maybe we discussed this before, but there's like an oil slick on the sidewalk downtown, between, be the 200 block of West 9th? Is that the strip there, or is that the 100 block? Needless to say, they're on the outside door of Lanning's.
okay.
And it's a, I don't know if it's water condensation or what, but there's also a rodent problem, flying rodent problem right there that needs to be addressed. Obviously, it's pigeons. I call them flying rodents, but they're completely making a mess in that area, and it's definitely. I mean, I'm not the pigeon police, but the thing is it makes a terrible mess for people to go down there and try to enjoy a walk through downtown and have to.
You're not the pigeon police?
No.
You'd be a good one.
I would, wouldn't I?
We can deputize it right now if you want to.
So that's an issue, and then there's another
On
issue.
that, who takes care of that? Pigeons.
We've discussed this before. Nobody really does, and we're like a very popular area for pigeons because of the grain elevator, and it provides them a food source. So the thing is that, I mean, obviously there's other cities that have control methods, but we have none. And the thing is with the awnings downtown, it provides them a very nice place to hide from predators and whatnot, so they take roost and,
Nice little habitat.
yeah. So it makes it, and the thing is, it's just unsightly, and it's more than unsightly, it's unsanitary. And then, with that, whatever that is out there all mixed in, condensation or whatever, it's a mess.
I think it is an air conditioning condensate line that is draining there.
And then it probably gets a little mold or a little
Yeah, it gets
green, the green stuff,
Yeah, get some algae growth.
green slime stuff from that.
Okay.
But the other thing is that on the city email, or the city manager weekly update, it was presented to the commission that you have made the decision to open up the average monthly payment for
Yes.
the electric utility?
The AMP, yes, yes.
Yes, could you explain what that is, please?
It's essentially breaking your utility bill down into 12 equal monthly payments. It's a plan that's always existed, but it was only eligible for enrollment in April and October, I believe. And then there were some other stipulations, you know, as far as not having any payment arrears in the last year. But we've waived that, so anyone could sign up for that program today, regardless of the situation.
Okay, so anyone, no matter what so all the stipulations and all the
Yeah, if you would like to sign up for that plan, come in and do so.
go down there and sign up. So that, a lot of people are talking to the commissioners about this electric issue and their electric billing and the estimates that, and I don't want to rehash that whole thing again, but there's a program out there that you can have your electric broken up into 12 months, the average monthly payment plan. Go down to the city utilities office at 8th and Buckeye. Sign up for that. This is, then how long are we gonna have that open?
That,
Month?
probably through the end of the year.
We're gonna leave it open that long?
Yeah, because soon we'll be in October when you could have normally signed up
Right.
anyway. You know, so I guess we could do it through the end of October. Maybe that's a,
End of October, and all the restrictions have been waived, and the thing is it's for city customers only. It's for residential customers only, am I correct?
I'll be honest, I
I
don't
think
know
it's for
that.
residential customers
All the
only.
information is on our website.
So go down there,
You all need to change it if you're making changes.
go down there and sign up.
We'll make those changes.
Well, we're making the changes right now, so it's, all the stuff's waived, go down there and sign up.
Right. So the only thing that I have is, so we've been on this kick. I think each one of the commissioners at one.
Can I just interrupt? Can you put that out on the, we were talking about the,
As soon as I get the
Yeah.
information on the website,
Yeah.
so we can refer people to.
Right.
Good.
That'll be done tomorrow.
Thank you. So we've all, I think each one of the commissioners have brought up cleaning up Coffeyville. I mean, I know Justin's been on it. We got the new rocks down there at the shell pit. Looks good. I think that looks excellent, actually. But one of the things that, it's kind of a pet peeve of mine, and I know you and I have talked about this, and I don't know where it's been lost in translation, but we need to start finishing the projects that we start. For example, downtown. We got a water line break in front of Envy. We replaced the concrete. Why didn't we repaint the lines? Same things happened across the street from Lanning's. There's nice new concrete setting on Ninth Street. Lines are all unpainted. On top of that, when I think I was driving down 8th Street and I either messaged you or called you that there was a whole bunch of mud and dirt and stuff like that where they had fixed the concrete, but it didn't get cleaned up. And I said, we need to get this cleaned up before it starts raining, because it's gonna rain and it's gonna all be down at the stop sign. Well, it was either later that day or the next day, all that mud and rock, and they weren't little pebbles, they were big rock, all was down at the stop sign. And it sat down there for weeks. And I think finally it just washed away because we didn't clean it up. I mean, no one cleaned it up. So I don't know if it's a lack of communication to the department head that that's a requirement, that when we start something, we finish it all the way to the end, or it's just, maybe we haven't maybe I didn't clearly communicate that to you, but, I mean, think we need to start setting some expectations, because I know there's other cities in this community, in this area, that when something like that happens on especially one of their main thoroughfares, it's finished, and it's finished to the end. And they've got people out there that are sweeping up the rocks and scooping it up, throwing it in the back of trucks and painting lines the next day. When the concrete's dry, it's a done project. And that's the way the projects need to be. I mean, doing it halfway, it's not acceptable. And to me, it's great that we get out there and get these water lines fixed. I do not fault them at all. That is, they get out there and they work through the night a lot of times. But seeing the project through to the end is what we need to make sure we're doing. And that means the finishing touches.
So I'm gonna,
Interject.
I don't even want to discuss it right at the second. The thing is that we need to get on point on this, and I don't want to make this into a beat-up session, because I don't want to get into that. But we're sitting here discussing this, and I get a message from someone, and basically it's an editorial from a local newspaper, and we don't have to go into who it is.
I believe I know what you're talking about.
But basically, it says that we are doing a horrible job keeping up our stuff.
That was a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, we're trying to promote a community.
Well, I'd like to know what we're talking about here.
Well, read that.
Okay. Well, we'll look at it, but.
Well, the thing
No.
is that, the thing is we're trying to promote a community, and we all have to work together. Because I'm trying to, and I've been saying this for a long time, if we don't get our act together, we're going to continue to decline. And we are going to continue to face issue after issue. But the thing is you cannot expect the citizens of this community to comply with rules and regulations if you don't comply to the own rules and regulations that you set. That is the sum of the game right there.
Okay, well, I got you.
Well, let me finish.
Well, go ahead.
Because I'm just simply trying to say that we have got to do a better job of setting an example for the people that we ask to do the very same thing that we're not doing. That's it. And the thing is, we've not lived up to we've not lived up to our potential. We have not. And I'll be the first one to admit it. And I'm quite frankly, I'm saddened and disappointed. There you go.
Okay, well, you know, while we're talking about this, deal comes up on Facebook or whatever it is, and it's showing some weeds out there at Leclerc Park at the tennis court, I guess. You know, while we're talking about it, I mean, who's to take care of that out there, Kendall? Are you paying attention to that?
Public service, yeah, those weeds that are in the tennis court, right, the ones with the pitcher.
Do you think we're doing a pretty good job with that kind of stuff, or?
We have areas of improvement, absolutely.
I mean, I hadn't seen it, it just came up, and that's what they're talking about, I guess.
It's
You
a,
know,
Well, that wasn't what
it's
I
a
was
story
talking about
on the
necessarily.
Montgomery County Chronicle, Jim, Andy Taylor, just basically, he told the truth. It's pretty,
Well, you know.
Pretty brutal.
You guys said something a week ago about the fence down there at the pit, shell pit. Jumped right on it. I mean, these things are ongoing. We're not at the city every day, okay, looking at it. So, do you think we're doing a pretty good job of staying up with all this stuff? I mean,
I think we're behind in some areas. We got some areas that we need to improve on. I've had that
Is it-
discussion.
Are we not getting it done? Are the guys working hard? Are the crews working hard?
I believe that they are.
Okay. Because I don't know that.
I think, you
You
know,
know.
the mayor has some valid points about follow through, and I think that we have such a list of projects that we have the tendency, we get them done enough that we move on. He's right, you know, if it needs lines, paint the lines. You know, you finish it up and you clean it up and you go on to the next one. So those are areas that we have to address, that I have to address. That's on me to hold, you know, my employees accountable, hold my department heads accountable for those things.
So you're out there with the different crews?
I don't
Or
get
not
out there.
crews, department heads, and you're seeing some of it,
We have,
inspecting some of
Yes.
that? And they're all working pretty hard?
some of the stuff that gets brought to my attention, then I'm, you know, bringing it to their attention.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and,
mean, I was kind of impressed we got all those blocks in. That happened pretty quick,
yeah.
you know? I wouldn't have spent that money if it was me, my private deal at a shell pit, but we did, and it looks nice. It looks nicer. What did that cost?
I don't know,
Yeah. Looks like it could probably cost, you know,
you know, and
labor and material and all, probably, you know, $4,000, $5,000, I don't know, I'm guessing. But we spent that, and that looks nice.
You know, and I will say that, just while you're on that, you know, thank you to Sheriff Dirks, who I spoke with, and he agreed to have the inmates that mow the gun range right next to it, to mow and weed eat around those areas. While they're there, they're gonna be there mowing on a weekly basis, that he agreed that they could take the extra 30 minutes it's gonna take to weed eat and keep that area nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So what about,
You know,
sorry, go ahead.
well, you know, I've said this before, and we're here, and our little town is poor. You know, we went from 18,000, whatever it was back in 1974, when I graduated high school, down to, what is it now, 9,500?
Around 9,800, I think.
9,800. And I see our sales taxes went down by, I don't know, I got the numbers here, I was looking at them with my accountant earlier, and, you know, it's down, what, 10 or 15%, our sales tax on some
No.
of it? Well, whatever, what is it down? Because I had some,
About 4% over last year. at this time.
4%. Okay, well, through July of 17 projected, was 426, and it was actually 339, okay? So that's quite a bit from the projection. Okay, we had a projected of 426 on this CM projections deal. That was a projection when we started the City Hall deal. So from a projection to actual, it's down quite a bit, but it's down, what, 3 or 4%, you say, from last year, from actual?
5% from this time
projection.
last year. Yeah.
5.5. Anyway, my point is, we've lost AFW, we lost Amazon, and our town is struggling. And we built this new fire and police department, spend whatever it is, 12 million, whatever we spent. And we helped the city, we helped the hospital, the CRMC, 0.5% sales tax. And the town, I'm not an accountant, I'm not very smart, but the town, in my opinion, is struggling. And we're doing a lot with the city streets. And a lot of the stuff we've done has been phenomenal with our city streets and our intersections and getting some grants. So we've done a lot of good. But me personally, I'm struggling with how much money we got and what we're doing, and we depend on Kendall and the city staff to monitor all this, and, you know, some of it's pretty good. But keep in mind, guys, commissioners, that, you know, it's Coffeyville, Kansas, we're doing the best we can, and we don't have a lot of money, okay? And with everybody buying stuff online, and our sales taxes went down 5.5%, and, you know, this kind of thing, it's a trend, and it's something we're gonna have to deal with. And, you know, I've been saying all along to you guys, hey, we're pretty tight. I've used the word broke a time or two, and it's just a feel for
But
me, you know?
The things that we're discussing don't cost money in most instances. It's gonna require a little bit more time. It's gonna take a little bit.
Right.
Require a little bit more pride in
It's a
what
factor.
you're doing.
It's a factor, and I'm not, you know, I can't really tell for sure when I see these pictures on Facebook and some of this stuff. You know, we went through the deal with the restaurant, with the cemetery, and not keeping it up, and I didn't think it was that bad, but there was people that got pretty crazy about it, upset about it, and I just, you know, I am trying to, when we come in here, I don't talk to you during the week much. Well, every once in a while, one time in the last month, but I just, you know, I see the stuff on Facebook, Andy Taylor writing some article about it, you know, putting his spin on it, which is right, okay? Sometimes I like it and sometimes I don't, whatever, that's fine. But I think the city's doing pretty good with trying to keep up with some of it.
Well,
And
I
we're
think
trying to tell you, hey, we need to stay on it. And
And again, that's on me, but a lot of the stuff we're seeing isn't a money issue. Yes, our public service is stretched very thin right now. We have them covering other positions that are open. So that has been a struggle for them, and allowing time off and things like that. So I know Chuck and Jim are really scrambling to get these things covered. But some of this is purely taking more pride in doing your job.
Right.
And again, that's on me.
Right,
And it's on me
that's-
to hold my
Right.
department heads accountable for that and those expectations. And I guarantee you, we'll take care of that.
Okay, well, that's,
The thing is, I seem like I'm talking a lot
Yeah.
tonight. Maybe
It's all right, it's all right.
We don't get together.
Yeah,
we don't
right,
get to,
exactly, that's
to be
my
able to
point.
get together
Well
and
said.
talk. So we have to do it here. I know that you say that our financial issues are strapped, or however you want to put it.
well, our mill levies went up, you know.
But the thing is I'm reminded of looking at pictures of, I didn't live back then, but like my parents, not my parents, but my grandparents and great-grandparents living back in the Depression. And they lived in, you know, little shacks, more or less, because they were poor.
Right.
But the inside of those houses were immaculate. And the thing is that's what I'm saying here, is that just because we're in whatever financial situation that we're in, doesn't mean that we shouldn't take pride in what we have. Because we have a lot of nice things that other communities would be very thankful to have. But if we don't maintain those things, and if we don't maintain the things that we have and take pride in whatever it is we have, we can't very well ask other people to do the same thing.
Right.
That's my point.
Okay. I like it.
Anything else from the commission? Nope. This time, I'll make a motion to move to recess to executive session to discuss an employee's performance evaluation pursuant to non-elected personnel matter, exception to reconvene in the commission room at 30 minutes? 9:35.
Second.
Motion was made by Mayor Bauer and seconded by Commissioner Williams to recess to executive session to discuss an employee's performance evaluation pursuant to the non-elected personnel. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Those things-